Good morning to one and all. So today's topic is ocular adverse effects. So we'll be dealing this topic under the following headings. That is, first we'll have a brief introduction to the topic, and then we will look into the subtopics. That is, the adverse drug effects on the different parts of the eyes. That is, cornea, lens, uvea, retina, and pupil. So we'll see what are the different adverse effects and the drugs which are causing the effects on these parts of the eye. And finally, we will be looking into some of the other ocular adverse effects which are not falling into the above categories. So we'll first begin with the introduction. So the adverse effect in the eye, that is the ocular adverse effect, can occur either because of the drugs which are applied topically to the eye in the form of drops or ointments, or it can also occur because of systemically administered drugs. So an oral drug or a parenteral drug can also cause adverse effects in the eye. So all of you must be knowing that if a drug is applied in the eye, it is more prone to cause adverse effects because small lipid soluble molecules of the drug, they can very easily pass into the aqueous humor, and from there it can further reach the lens, cornea, and the trabecular meshwork. This is because the choroid, the sclera, the ciliary body, they are all having thin and fenestrated walls for which help in the passage of drug molecules. So because of this, the topical drugs, whenever they are applied to the eye, they can cause adverse effects in the eye. And the adverse effect in the eye may depend upon the duration for which the drug is there in the eye. Maybe that once, if we apply a drug for maybe a couple of times, it may not cause an adverse effect. But if we are applying it for a prolonged duration, or if the drug is there in the eye for a long time, it is having more tendency to cause adverse effect. Now, the systemic routes, the drugs which are administered by systemic routes, some of the drugs can cause an adverse effect in the eye. This is because after a drug molecule reaches the systemic circulation, it can also reach the ocular tissues because of uveal or retinal circulation. So at this point, you should understand that the ocular adverse effects can occur either because of drugs which are applied directly into the eye, or even because of drugs which are given systemically, that is oral route or by the parenteral route. Now, which are the sites, the principal sites in the eye where this drug accumulation occurs? So, this is mainly in cornea. The cornea has a permeable endothelium, and the glycosaminoglycans which are present in the stroma of the cornea, they can actually bind the drug molecules, and this can lead to edema or corneal opacity. So the drug molecule can bind to glycosaminoglycans in the cornea, and this can lead to edema and the decreased transparency or increased opacity of the cornea. Similarly, the drugs can also accumulate in the lens, and this is because the drug molecules can bind to the lens proteins, and they can further photosensitize the lens to the damaging effects of the ultraviolet radiation. So some drugs can actually sensitize the lens to the damaging effects of the ultraviolet radiation. That is called as photosensitization. Drugs can also accumulate in the vitreous humor because there is a slow rate of fluid exchange. So the drugs can be there in the vitreous for a long time. So the ocular accumulation sites are cornea, lens, and vitreous. Now, I told you that the drugs which are given by the systemic routes can affect the eye. Now, there can be different mechanisms by which the drugs administered by the systemic routes can affect the eye. So, some of the drugs have a particular mechanism. That is, for example, anticholinergic drugs or antimuscarinic drugs, which you have learned in the previous topics. They can block the M3 receptors, which are present in the pupil, and they can cause mydriasis. Similarly, alpha blockers, they can also block the alpha receptors in the pupil and can cause meiosis. So there is a reason why these drugs are causing the adverse effect in the eye. Now, some of the drugs may undergo altered metabolism. That is, either there might be some decreased metabolism of the drug because of any reason, and that can lead to accumulation of the drug for a longer time. And so, more drug could reach the ocular sites and can cause toxicity. Then, some individuals are already allergic to some drugs. So, in those individuals, there could be some kind of ocular adverse effects because of that allergic or atopic tendency in that individual. And one such very serious allergic disorder is Steven Johnson syndrome, about which we will discuss at the end. And sometimes the drugs can cause adverse effect in the eye because of toxicity. If they're given an overdose, they could more amount of drug could reach in the ocular tissues and can cause toxicity. And teratogenicity, that is, if the pregnant mother, lady, is taking a drug, it could cause ocular adverse effect in the fetus. And then there is idiopathic or idiosyncratic reactions. That is, some individuals, there is no explained reason why they are developing the ocular adverse effects. So some individuals may have abnormal reactions with some drugs. For example, some individuals can develop diplopia with the class of drugs called glitazone. So glitazones normally do not cause diplopia, but in idiosyncratic or idiopathic individuals, it can cause diplopia. So these are some of the causes or the reasons why systemic adverse effects can occur in the eye. Now we'll see the different drugs affecting the different parts of the eye. So first we will look into the adverse effects occurring on the cornea, and these can be either keratopathies or pigmentation of cornea. So these are all at your level. It is mainly learning it by heart, the different adverse effects and the examples of the drugs under each. So first we will see the drugs causing keratopathies or the corneal inflammations. So you can see two drugs are there, chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine. These are both given as antimalarial drugs. And these can cause a wall-like grayish or golden brown corneal deposits. You can see there is a wall-like corneal deposits, and this is referred to as vortex keratopathy or cornea verticillata. This is because of the wall-like, the circle-like deposition. And the patient usually comes with blurred vision, complaints of blurred vision, and this is usually reversible when the drug is stopped. The next drug which can cause keratopathy is amiodarone, and this also can cause the same way. It can also cause vortex keratopathy, just like the chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine. Here also the patient complains of blurred vision, and the more, if you give higher doses of the drug or if the therapy is prolonged, then it can cause more advanced corneal deposits. This when even if after stopping the drug, the reverse to the normal texture takes a lot of time in the case of amiodarone vortex keratopathy. The next drug is chlorpromazine. Chlorpromazine is an antipsychotic drug, and it causes diffuse yellowish brown granular deposits. You can see here in this figure, it is diffuse yellowish brown granular deposits, and it occurs mainly on the exposed parts of the cornea. Next one is amantadine. And amantadine is a drug which is given for Parkinson's disease. And you can see again here also there is a deposition, but here it is very, very diffuse and white and punctate opacities. And usually the cornea is also having edema. So all the drugs that I have mentioned now, they're all causing different types of keratopathies. And by looking at the different types of keratopathies, you can identify they're all causing different types of keratopathies. Now, the drugs which are causing corneal pigmentation. So, the eye drops containing silver, if they are used for a long time, it can cause argyrosis, that is deposition of the silver deposits. And you can see there is a discoloration. You can see silver deposits are there in the cornea, and that is called as argyrosis. Now we look at the adverse drug effects on the lens. So it can lead to, most of the drugs, they can bind to the lens proteins and can cause lens opacities, which can progress to frank cataract. So already I think you must be knowing that what cataract is. So it is not, it is beyond the scope of this session to discuss about cataract. Now, the steroids, they are the most important drugs which are causing this lens opacity or cataract. And usually they cause the posterior subcapsular cataract, which can later progress to anterior subcapsular cataract. So the steroid given by any route, topical, systemic, inhalational, all these can cause cataract in the eye. And children are more susceptible to the catarogenic effect of the steroids. Now, if the early cases are detected with cataract, and if you stop the drug, it will the cases will regress on discontinuation of the drugs, but the advanced cases of cataract because of the steroids will require surgery to regain the vision. Next drug which can cause lens opacity is chlorpromazine. Chlorpromazine is again an it's an antipsychotic drug which we also learned in the case of vortex keratopathy. So this can cause deposition of very fine yellowish brown granules on the anterior lens capsule, and the deposits will persist even after discontinuation of the drug. So you can see chlorpromazine is causing deposits on the cornea as well as on the lens. Other drugs which can cause lens opacity are busulfan, which is an anti-cancer drug, gold, which is an anti-rheumatoid arthritis drug, and allopurinol, which is given for gout. Now we'll see the drugs which can affect the uveal tract. So uveal tract, the drugs can cause the uveitis, which can be iritis, which can be scleritis, or which can be vitritis. And so we'll see first drug. It is rifabutin. It's given for tuberculosis. It causes anterior uveitis with hypopyon. Hypopyon is the presence of pus in the anterior chamber. If you can see the figure here, you can see some pus in the anterior chamber. And once the the dose of the drug is reduced or the drug is withdrawn, it can produce some relief from this. Other drugs which can cause uveitis are bisphosphonates, cidofovir. Bisphosphonates are given for osteoporosis, and it can usually causes scleritis or episcleritis, whereas cidofovir is an antiviral drug which can cause vitritis with hypopyon. So hypopyon is seen even in cidofovir. Now we'll see the drugs which cause adverse effects on the retina. It can present as retinopathies, maculopathies, or optic neuritis. So first one is chloroquine. So chloroquine, we already mentioned this chloroquine in the case of cornea also. So it can bind to retinal pigments also. It's a melanotropic drug. So the melanin pigments, it can bind to the melanin pigments in the retina. And the retinopathy is usually related to the total cumulative dose. So more the dose and more the number of years of treatment with chloroquine, it can lead to retinopathies. Another drug which can cause retinopathy is thioridazine, which is also an antipsychotic drug, and it can cause a characteristic salt and pepper pigmentation of the mid periphery and the posterior pole of retina. Again, retinopathy will depend on the more the amount of dose, the more will be the chances of retinopathy. Another drug which can cause retinopathy is chlorpromazine, another antipsychotic drug. So you can see these drugs are getting repeated. So it is not only affecting cornea, it can affect the retina, the vitreous and all. So you have seen chlorpromazine being repeated again and again in different parts of the eye. It causes non-specific pigmentary granularity and clumping. Now, the drugs which cause maculopathies, under that you have got two drugs, tamoxifen and interferon alpha. Tamoxifen causes fine yellow crystalline deposits in the inner layers of retina and punctate gray lesions in the outer layer of retina. Whereas interferon alpha, it causes a characteristic cotton wool spots on the retina, and it also causes intraretinal hemorrhages. So tamoxifen and interferon alpha are the two drugs which can cause maculopathies. Then we'll see two drugs which can cause the damage to the optic neuritis. And these are amiodarone and vigabatrin. Amiodarone is antiarrhythmic drug, and you have got vigabatrin, which is an anti-epileptic drug. And in both these cases, the patient present with slow onset of visual impairment. And usually the amiodarone optic neuritis is associated with disc swelling, and both of these will present with visual field defects. And the return to the normal is also very difficult with both these drugs. Complete return to normal vision may not occur with both these drugs. Then we'll see into the other ocular adverse effects. So the drugs which can cause dry eye, beta blockers, diuretics, niacin, OCP. Drugs which can cause mydriasis and miosis, which you have already learned in your um, uh, class on cholinergic and anticholinergics. So anticholinergics drugs like atropine, they can cause mydriasis. Other drugs are phenothiazines, antihistamines. Meiosis is mainly caused by cholinergic drugs like pilocarpine, anticholinesterases like physostigmine, and other drug is opiate like morphine. The increased IOP or the intraocular pressure or the increased tendency to cause glaucoma is usually seen with anticholinergic drugs like atropine, phenothiazines, antihistamines, steroids. Ocular bleeds can occur because of antiplatelet drugs like aspirin, clopidogrel, or anticoagulant drugs like warfarin and heparin. So I recommend you learn 2 or 3 examples under each of these headings. Then drugs which can cause conjunctivitis are anti-anxiety drugs like diazepam and anti-epileptic drugs like phenytoin and carbamazepine. Extraocular muscle paralysis can be caused by anti-diabetic drugs like sulfonylureas and also by barbiturates and interferon alpha. Characteristic yellow vision can be seen in patients who are treated with digoxin for cardiac failure. Nystagmus can be seen in patients who are taking lithium for manic disorders, barbiturates, phenytoin, and carbamazepine. Similarly, lithium can also cause diplopia in certain individuals. NSAIDs, tetracyclines can also cause diplopia. Now we'll see the final slide, that is the eye manifestations in Stevens-Johnson syndrome. So Stevens-Johnson syndrome is a very serious disorder of the skin and mucous membrane, and it is often related to the use of a medication. So what are the things that can happen in a patient who has Stevens-Johnson syndrome? So it can the patient can have pseudomembranous and membranous conjunctivitis, and there can be adhesion between the palpebral and bulbar conjunctiva, and this is called as a symblepharon. Even contracture and keratinization of the palpebral conjunctiva can occur. You can see all these things are shown in this figure, in this photograph. Destruction of eyelids can occur. Corneal abrasion, vascularization of the cornea, and thickening of the cornea can also occur, and it can lead to visual loss. And one of the examples of drugs which can cause this is sulfonamides. Sulfonamides. So you can remember that as an example of Stevens-Johnson syndrome, sulfonamides. So with that, we are coming to the end of the class. So it's a very, very brief session. And all of you are requested to write this note in your notebook and can learn all the examples by heart. And you may require repeated reading to remember the examples. Thank you.